What's going on, guys? Welcome back to talk about Transformers. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Newage Mista, aka a Dark of the Moon Soundwave figure. And because he's a masterpiece, we've got the box here, so we'll go ahead and take a look at the box. You've got an image there of Mista on the front with a slightly varied looking logo for the vehicle there. It's not quite a Mercedes. It's like a Mercedes. It's a shady guy. Newage movie series MX-1 Mista. He is watching you. Newage movie series, this is the only figure in it as far as I know, which is a shame because even though the transformation's involved, it's actually really good. Newage movie series. Product shots, you've got just another artwork of him there, and then you've got I want to see these. That actually looks like images from the film, not the figure itself, because it's got the actual Mercedes logo on it, and you can kind of see the desert there in the background. And then on the bottom you've got Newage movie series, and you've got warning, only suitable for 15 or older, which I would probably agree with because it is not a transformation for kids. So there you have the box. I'm going to set it down here, nice and gentle, not going to hurt a good box. And so there you've got him in his Mercedes alt mode. We'll take a look at that in a minute. First of all, we'll take a look at what came in the box with him. There you've got this instruction booklet that I've never opened, so we'll go ahead and pull that open. Oh, okay, it's not a booklet, it's a fold out. Now you can tell I've never opened this. And I'm not going to try and fold it open and then fold it shut on camera. But you've got instructions here. The images look about as cohesive as any instructions do. I couldn't tell you how effective they are because I did not use them. So, instructions. He came with his gun, which does not go anywhere on the car, but it's painted in silver. You've got some tabs on the handle for holding it in robot mode. You've got some gold paint here for the muzzle and the barrel area, and it kind of looks like there's a hammer back here, but it's Soundwave's gun from Dark of the Moon. And he also comes with Beak. And Beak is the only minion you saw with him in this mode, so it makes sense that he comes with Beak. And we'll get into his details and articulation after we look at his. Mine came with another box, and I don't know if it's all runs or if it was just the first run that I managed to actually get a figure out of for once, but it came with a different box with Soundwave's other minion that we did not see in Dark of the Moon, Ravage. So there you've got Ravage, and we'll again take a look at his details after we look at the main figure. But so it came with both his minions, even the one we didn't see actually interact with him other than being shot from orbit. That out of the way, we'll take a look at the vehicle details. You've got the red painted brakes in there, but they are not stationary. They roll with the tires, so that's not exactly, realistic, but that's okay. It's included, and the tires are nice and chromy, so I can appreciate it either way. You've got some black detail in the vents here. You've got, just molded in details on the side. You've got your side view mirrors, and since it's all silver, so the mirrors are silver. You've got the back here, just kind of pinkish. Tail lights painted in. I don't know why they're pinkish. Then you've got some kind of dirty looking paint here, and one side has got more coats than the other. There he is from this side, same thing, and then from the front you've got a lot of that black venting done, and then you've got the logo there, and clear headlights on the top. You can see more of the black. It's got all the black venting is on this car, but lots of nice line work for the bump out. on the hood and the bump in on the roof. And if you get your finger under here, I don't want to pull on these too much because this is one of the only cars I have left with mirrors, but you can open the door to reveal nothing at all, but they open. So again, you can have it kind of open from the side you're not looking into the car at, and it kind of makes a neat visual. So it doesn't really hurt the transformation either, other than trying to maneuver them around, which can get a little frustrating, but that describes a lot of stuff on this. The transformation isn't hard, it's just chaos, because there's not really a set order of, okay, I've moved this and now I should move this. It's okay, well, the legs are exploding, so let's try and get them back together. But there he is in his car mode. There's the bottom. You can see his forearms and hands here. He's praying to Unicron, because, you know, he's a Decepticon. So he's praying to the Chaos Bringer that I'll be able to transform him on camera without popping any parts off. There's some parts on him that I need to glue into place. They're just screw covers on his knee joints, and they like to fall out. So, and then you've got the bottoms of his feet here, covering this up nicely, and these are parts of his shoulders, I believe. They're either the collar pieces on the chest itself, because I know they're not actually the arms, but there you have him in his vehicle mode, and he rolls. He's doing a scrape right now. It's probably his forearms or his feet. But then again, like I maintain, my table is not the best for rolling, but he is not connecting to the ground with all four wheels either. Those two are connecting, these two are connecting. He's still going to scrape. That's my table, it does it. But there he is in vehicle mode. So we'll put him back here for a second, and we'll take a look at his minions. Alrighty, here he's got his minions with him. We'll take a look at the one that came with him first, which is Laserbeak, and it makes sense because, again, he was actually in the film with him. We'll go ahead, and these are pretty tiny, so we should probably just zoom in the whole time. My phone will cooperate and participate. So he's got red painted eyes, very beady and menacing. He's got red paint on these little tail feathers here, and some red paint for the turbines in his wings. You got silver paint on the wings, but the body is mostly just unpainted gunmetal, and then the head is kind of painted gunmetal, so it's a bit of a contrast there. He's got the little guns under his stomach. They're actually attached to the fixture the wings on, which rotate around the stem that the ball joint in the hip is connected to. And with that, we'll just go into articulation, I guess. He's got a hinge at his wing, so he can spread them out. He can salute. He can do whatever you want on this hinge until you run into the turbine. It is a screw, so I appear to be tightening it as I'm turning it. So I'm going to stop turning that one until I can loosen that back up. There's also a screw down here, so we'll hope that we're not ruining anything by maneuvering this. It can move up and back. That's it for his wings, unless you count, I guess, the shoulder of the wing. You can fold them up, and you can fold them down, but the turbines start to hit his hips and stuff, so they're not really going to get much farther down than this. His neck has got a ball joint at the base, and then there's a ball joint at his actual connection between his last vertebrae and his head. So you can go up this far and down this far, and he can get some side to side. If you wanted to, it's not right because of the detailing being wrong, but you could fold it around and fold his head around to get him looking down more if you wanted, as far as the neck posture. And then the head's on a fairly unlimited ball joint, so you can get him looking down that far. He can look straight out, and then he can do the owl thing where he just looks backwards. And then we can rotate this, so you can have him kind of looking down like that, but the neck would be wrong. So that's it for head articulation. Tail is a ball joint at the base here, so you can wiggle waggle it, you can spin spin it with the swivel, and then how it's oriented, it's kind of drooping down, and you've got a set of spikes on the top, and the sides and the bottom spikes are much less pronounced, which is how you can tell what the bottom is. And then the little tip here is just on a hinge, so you can hinge that up and down. His legs have a ball joint at the hip that can go out and in a little bit, and mostly forward and back, and then you can kind of get a little bit of a thigh swivel out of that. And then you've got the ball joint at the angle, so his foot can rotate forward, it can rotate down, it can swivel, if I can get it to swivel. It's a little tight, and it's a little, the pieces are small, and then you can also tilt it. And that's pretty much it for Laserbeak. Out of the two animals in the set, he's my least favorite, definitely now that I've got this situation here with this screw tightening itself. I don't care for that too much. I don't want to break that. We'll put him off to the side, and we'll go ahead and take a look at Ravage here. He's cooler anyway, and he's got a lot more articulation. Taking a look at him, he's molded in, I can't tell if he's molded in a sparkly flecked plastic or if that's just kind of splattered on with paint. Either way, he's got silver flecks on him throughout pretty much all of his body, aside from the guns, which are separate in the box, even down to like his feet and his face have got silver flecking. And you've got gold paint for the eye, for some piston detail here for this circle, and that's about it for paint. The guns came separate. Excuse me. The guns came separate in a box. You've got a slot and a tab, and you can plug it in here. So there you go. That's his accessory. For articulation, we'll start from the back and move forward. You've got this rotating blade here on his tail, so he can have it compact and just have all three of them folded up, and then he can fold one out, and you can use the articulation in the tail, and you can pull a Scorponok. You've got a hinge with a ball joint with a cut in the top, so you can have his tail come up like this, and then it can rotate at the ball joint. Again, like Laserbeak's neck, you could rotate this around if you wanted to, but I think that looks bad. I don't like it, so we're going to keep it this way. He does have a ball joint at his back hip area. Oh, that's not in camera. His back hip area, so you can go side to side and up and down, and a little bit of twisting. There's a ball joint at the base of this gun feature, so it does rotate and it does tilt side to side and up and down. He's got ball jointed hips in the back that'll get you out this far and in this far. You can rotate pretty much a full 360 until you start hitting the front legs and the guns. If you flex his legs, you could get him around it. He's got two joints in his knees, but they are both goddamn flies. Get out of here. We got rid of them and then they came back. But he's got two joints in his knee, extended fully. This is what you're gonna get. And then collapse fully. This is what you're going to get, which is usually how I keep them. And then a little bit of thigh swivel there if you want. And then a ball joint at each of his feet. So you've got the rotation. You've got bend forward, bend down, and tilting. Front legs are much the same as in regard to the feet. So you've got tilting up and down and side to side. And then you can rotate it on the ball joint. You've got a single bend here at the elbow because the back leg is digitigrade, so it gets three joints if they do it right. You've got the ball joint at the shoulder, so you can get some in and out, and you can get a little bit of outward movement, and again, you can use that to move it a full 360. He's got ab articulation, I guess is what you would call this, where you can move up, and he's not coming off the ball joint here. You can actually bend this far up and hold that pose pretty much, and then he can bend down. It can rotate a little bit, and it can move side to side for posing. He's got a ball joint at the base of this neck, so again you can rotate it all the way around. You can do up and down and a little bit of side to side. So couple that with the body joints and you can get him some decently curvy poses for cat-like elegance. And then he's got a ball joint at the base of his head, so you can look up on that ball joint that far, down on that ball joint that far, side to side in a 360 as per usual. And then his jaw opens, and it depends on how you have the ball joint oriented. As long as the ball joint is as far down as it will go. This is how much jaw you're gonna get. So yeah, really posable, really fun, and it just looks really good. I think that this one is an absolute win of an accessory / minion character, other than the fact that like the gun, neither of them will store in vehicle mode at all. They don't plug in, they don't plug in, they don't sit inside. There's no real estate there for them to sit inside. But I mean, this one's a fun little figure on its own. It didn't transform in the movie, so I can't get hung up on the fact that it doesn't transform, and it's just real posable, and it's fun to try and get it into poses. But there you have his accessory dudes. So we'll go ahead and shift into some size comparisons, and then we'll try to take a look at his transformation. I'm not looking forward to doing it on camera, because it's just, I could do it off camera, but on camera I feel like it's going to be a mess. Alright, starting off as always, here we have him with the Rubik's Cube, with the Gormagala statue, with Volkswagen Bumblebee, with our previous masterpiece review, KO Perukill, aka Lockdown. And here he is with MPM-05 Barricade. He's not my next masterpiece review. I'm not sure which review I'm going to do next. I have an idea, but I didn't make it a solid plan yet, so I'm putting him in because Soundwave and him were kind of prison guard buddies in Dark of the Moon, so I figured they'd have a nice robot comparison. So there you go for your size comparisons, finishing up with Barricade. Okay, let's try and get this over with as painlessly as possible. For starters, we're going to go ahead and pop the doors. If you don't want to pull on these, you can kind of push in on the bottom panel, so that way it's easier for you to get your nail. Mine are pretty short, as you can see, and I was still able to just kind of get something under there and flick it out. Just enough so that way you can actually push it up and out. Now, I haven't read through the instructions, and I'm not sure when the best time to fold these in is, but you actually take the door panels and fold them in and compact them with the window and the roof section. And then there's a seam here, and we're going to go ahead and bend and pull the seam apart. There's a ball joint in here, and we're going to use it to detach these roof panels. You've got a peg hole here, and you've got a tab on the roof panel here, so that way they unplug and rotate out a little bit, and that'll let you rotate the back of the car from the front of the car, and then rotate the windows down to sit here, and then finish rotating the car onto itself, and then rotate the windows down again out of the way. So now you've got a horrible accident. This thing looks like it went down the world's thinnest and toughest telephone pole, like this. Alright. Now you've got them in two halves, so you can basically do one half and then the other. I like to start with the bottom half because it takes longer, and because I don't know if transforming the top half would work that well without the legs at least being separated from the center part. So we're going to go ahead and get into that. You've got heels. We're going to take his heels and just fold them up for now to get them out of the way. You've got these little panels in here, and we're going to fold them out. And then these panels that will go onto his thigh, we're going to fold them up. This section of the car that's below the door is going to unpeg. You've got a tab, and it goes into this large roundish slot. We're going to unpeg it, and we're going to rotate it around so that way it folds in like this for now. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So there you've got those. And then what we're going to do is we're going to unpeg the legs from each other. So you've got a tab here, tab here, tab here, and then slots on the other side. And you've got a peg here, and there's a hole here. And I've actually snipped this peg down. It used to be about twice as long, and I will tell you why when I get to it, but it does not affect the back holding together pretty much at all. And then you've got another hole here and a tab in the center, and that's what will help hold it to the roof. With this section just in the middle here, which is going to be, I believe, where the chest plugs in the robot mode. So now we've got his legs separated. I'm going to rotate this one all the way out so it's out of my way as much as possible so we can try to do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is fold this panel down back all the way, because we had just folded it up like that. So that way we can maneuver the foot up here as much as possible, get it out of our way too. And we're going to swing around to this panel here in the back, and it is going to pull up, unpeg it. There's a big old tab, and it'll just sit underneath the front part of this fender wheel well section area. I don't know cars, but we're going to pull it back, kind of rotate it back, and then we're going to pull it up. So we're going to extend it up like this, so there you can see it is indeed up. And then this panel is going to detach. Well, I'm not going to do that yet. I want to leave that attached as long as possible. So what do I want to do then? We'll go ahead and come around to the back and start rotating this panel with the tire. Here we go. That's what I need to do. Rotate the back panel to the side, and then we can rotate this panel with the tire up, and that's going to unpeg this panel for us. So now we've got 3 free floating panels. We got the front of the thing, the back of the thing, and the tire itself. And then this is loose. I could tighten it up, but it doesn't need to be in either mode tighter than that, so I'm going to leave it go. In vehicle mode, it is tabbed around, or it is pushed into here. So I definitely room for tightening, but I don't have to, so I'm going to leave it. So it's going to flop and you're going to see it. But anyway, after we rotate that up, we can get in here and push his knee spike out and push that forward, and that will allow us to rotate the leg section down, and we're getting somewhere. Now, what we want to do is separate the top and bottom of this section like so that way we have those separated. Like I said, it's going to explode, and then we're going to put it back together, and I just have to remember how it explodes. There is a hinge here. We rotated the wheel up at this hinge. If you can see the pin, there's a pin in there. We rotated up at that hinge. Now there's a pin here too, so we're going to rotate it at this hinge as well, now that we've got this separated. I'm trying to remember which way we want this. And as we're rotating it, this was oriented like so. We're going to continue to rotate it around so that way the part we folded down is behind the leg now. And then we're going to hinge that all the way up. This window piece has just been kind of hanging out back here. We're going to rotate it around, and there's a hinge here with a swiveling hinge here, and that is going to rest in this divot. So we're going to rotate it down. I did not have to rotate that around. Just rotate it down and kind of rest this in. There's a series of hinges in here. There's a ball joint in the hinge, and you're going to kind of put it in this general area for now, and this piece is going to hook around this tab on the window here, if you can see that tab there. So what we're going to do before we actually collapse that all together is rotate this panel around so the light is facing forward. Then this tab here is going to plug into that hole, and this is the post I snipped in half, because before I snipped it in half, it would actually run into this area around the tire, and this would not plug in properly. Now that I've snipped it, it actually plugs in. Then this, get the window back into place, this is now going to rotate around, and you've got a big old tab It's going to go into this slot on his leg. So we're going to plug that in, make sure everything is nice and squoze together. Make sure the window got up under that panel. And like I said, it's not keeping it, holding it under there, but the panel cutout kind of lines up with the window. When you've got everything squeezed together, make sure his knee stays up. This circular feature here is the screw cover cap that likes to pop off on me, so it did not this time somehow. For the foot, we're going to rotate this part around, and it's going to plug in to that tab there. In vehicle mode, this is tilted back, and you can see that there's an angled piece here and an angled piece here, so we're going to pull it forward. We're going to line the heel up, and then we're going to rotate the foot and push this down, and I just kind of line these two panels up together so they're oriented like that, and there's your foot. We'll go ahead and rotate the leg around, and at the same time move this thigh armor so that way it stays off to the side. Now his leg is oriented to the front properly. The thigh armor doesn't plug in, but this cutout is going to go around these hinges here, so that way it looks like this. Get that all lined up, get the light situated. We'll flip him over real quick so we can take a look at his leg. There's the leg all done, and what a journey that was. And I'm not doing it again on camera, so we're going to go ahead and jump cut to him having two legs. And well, thanks to editing being a thing, there he is with two legs. Everything happens pretty much the same. The only difference is I didn't have to cut anything on this side because there's a peg hole instead of a peg. But as you can see, all this stuff pretty much sits the same way. I'm probably going to end up tightening these up because they're holding in place. But look how bad that hangs off of there. I want to tighten it up a little bit. Not too much that it can't transform. But I also don't like that nothing in his foot really pegs in, so it's all kind of free floating. He'll stand at the end of this, he will. But I'm not a super huge fan of the loosey-goosey nature of it. But anyway, we'll go ahead and start on his arms. And what I like to do first is there's these panels here with these vents, and I'm going to push them up, and they're going to unpeg from that tab, and then you've got two tabs here that were plugged into those. So once we have that up, we're going to rotate this arm out a little bit. So that way we can fold this section out. This was tucked in under here, and his thumb is oriented so it also slides into that gap. That's how you want it to be in vehicle mode, so that way it stays out of the way. So we'll pull his arm out all the way, fold the flap, orient the hand so that it is properly in line with the elbow. And then his hand is going to come across this beam with the ball joint in the middle, so the thumb is also oriented properly. The hand is not. I had it rotated the wrong way. So there, the thumb is now proper, the hand is proper. We're going to go ahead and have him give you a thumbs up while we fold the fingers in just so they stay out of the way. And we're going to leave his arm like this for now. We'll do the other arm. So yeah, the arms definitely get a thumbs up from me for being easier than the legs. So there we go. We got his hand, we got his thumb. Gives you another thumbs up as we close up his hand, and then we'll close the forearm. So there you've got his arms done. I don't have them rotated the same way. But no, they're still not rotated the same way. There, we're going to try and go for some consistency here. I need to tighten up his wrist ball joints. There, his arms are done. Now we're going to attach these parts of the hood, and we're going to swing them in on this ball joint and double ball joint, so it's like a barbell joint, I think is what it's called. But there's a little tab here. It was plugged into a hole in there, and that was pretty much keeping this section in place, along with this tab that was plugged into this hole. We're just going to move them forward. They don't plug in the front. You just kind of orient them loosey-goosey, which kind of makes sense because in the movie the car parts did kind of just hang off them sometimes. So now that we've got those forward, we can angle the lights out, and you can see the peg in there. We're going to angle the lights out, and I can never remember if I rotate them back or forward. But I'm going to rotate them out of here. Or do I do something else first? No, I've got stuff running into stuff, and I don't like it. So I must not. Yeah, I've got to rotate these out. Okay, I rotate them forward. Pull them out, rotate them forward towards the front of the vehicle, and get them so that they are opposite. So pull it out, rotate it around, and now it's sitting like this. We're going to take the whole front of the vehicle section and rotate it around so that way it's lined up with the waist, and you've got a series of hinges in here. We're going to collapse, and we're going to plug the tab area here, which, if you remember, was between the window pieces in the back of the car, and it's going to plug into this slot here. And then you've got a tab on this chrome piece that's going to plug into a slot in this back section where the ball joints of the windows are attached. And I'm just going to kind of keep these sections rotated down for now. Coming around to the front here, he's starting to get a little wonky in his legs, but we'll straighten all that up, clean that up before we get him standing. So here he is. Isn't he lovely? What you're going to do is there are little tabs here on the window, and you're going to accordion these down on this double hinge, and there's going to be a slot area that's going to go over this tab. It is this slot right here. So make sure that you actually plug that in on both sides. Rotate his arm forward, and it is on a thoopy joint, which is what I'm going to call them now. I like the word thoop. I thank MGO for bringing that into my life, because it does. It is like the perfect onomatopoeia for what is happening. It's going thoop. So we'll thoop that down, rotate this down, and plug it in. Get the hood pieces out of the way, or the light fixtures, whatever you want to call them. So now we've got those both plugged in. I'm going to rotate these up because I want to show it. There they are plugged in. You can see them go over it. So there we go. There's that. These panels are just going to rest down. They don't really lock in or anything. They're just kind of free forming there, which describes a lot of panels on this guy. His head is pushed down in, so we're going to actually pull that out. And for these panels, you can do what you want with them. I tend to angle them down so that I can get the light lined up where I want it, and then I'll angle them up to kind of hold it in place, so that way it's not freely rotating around. So this is how I have them kind of oriented, but you can do you and put them where you want. We'll go ahead and get the doors under those on his back to kind of help hold those in place there. And then the last thing we've got to do is just tidy up his shoulder area. This gunmetal part is going to fold down, and then you've got a little piece of detail in here that you're going to rotate out. And like I said, I've got like no fingernails, but you can get your finger in there, pull it out, and it doesn't really say what to do with these. You just kind of orient them how you want. But there is a little panel in his arm, and it's this curvy panel with the gold detail up to this point that you can pull out. Oop, bumping my camera. So you can pull this out. There's the after picture, and there's the before picture on his other arm. So what I'll do is I'll actually use these ball joints to angle this panel underneath it to help kind of hold that whole section into place. And then when you're doing the posability, you're going to have to kind of work around it. But if you've got him in the pose you want, just kind of lock this down, and it'll help keep his arm into place. So that's what I'm going to do with those. So we'll fold this down. We'll get our little panel out of here. We'll pull this out. There we go. And then just get that under there. just set. And the Decepticon symbols, I bought some, and I was like, oh, I got these little symbols, maybe I can put some on some guys. So I decided to give them one on each shoulder, so those do not come stock with the figure. Obviously, they are not accurate to the model in the film, but I thought he should have some faction symbols somewhere. So there he is, finally in his robot mode, and it looks really good. It's just a bit of a trip getting here, because with the aesthetic of these movies, I believe Thu said it best once, all the settings are set to maximum jaggedy, so they're literally just panels floating around this guy, and you've got to find something to do with them. This wrist is really loose. I'm going to have to fix that. That's fine, though. So there he is in his robot mode, and we'll go ahead and take a look at his details and get into just showing him off with his minions and get some size comparisons in, and then we'll finish this thing. Alrighty, zooming in here on his face, you can see his eyes are painted a nice vibrant red, if not the pink from the taillights. It's hard to tell if it's closer to this red on the waist or the pink on the taillights. Either way, its face is painted silver with the red eyes. You've got some gold accents on the side of his head, on his shoulders, on these collar pieces. The screws kind of look like part of the design, and then you've got those little golden pipes laid in down there, which, you know, don't even have to be picked out in paint. There's even some gunmetal and gold on the back on those details there, if you can see. Gold on the shoulders, blue for the speaker type deals. More of that kind of rusty gold color here on the side. I'm not sure. It's even on these gunmetal parts that you folded down on the shoulder and around his arms. So it's definitely there on purpose. I'm just, I don't really know if it was on the film model or not. It's hard to tell. Nice chrome speakery things on his arms that really pop really nicely. And down here, you've got his hands going down the chest. It's collapsed pretty much accurately to the show. Film, whatever you want to call it. It's got the red detail I pointed out earlier, plus you've got some gold on there off to the side. It continues down to the side. Gold on the knees, red piping down the thighs on both sides. The rear lights, tail lights are there on the sides of his knees area. You've got the little caps on his knees that like to pop out. Neither of them did when I transformed him to robot, so that's good. I'll probably have them pop out when I'm going back into vehicle later, though. Here he is from the side. You've got just pretty much the same detail that was in car mode with some gold here, and you've got the venting. And here from the back, you've got some chromed out bits on the back of his legs, all the car mess here. It cleans up really good for the fact that it's supposed to look this messy. It's cleaned up really good, though. It's hard to explain. It's messy, but it's supposed to be. And then you've got some, it almost looks like dry brushing on the one ankle area, but not on the other too much. So kind of asymmetrical paint there. These ball joints might need a tightening too. They don't clip in. These don't clip in. You're just kind of frictioning them up under these wheel sections. But you got a little gold on his back, up the spine, and then you've got that big chrome spinal cord section there. Backs of his arms got a couple more chrome panels, and just lots of nice molded details all throughout. Like, this thing is decked out in molded details everywhere, and they've got lots of them picked out in nice paint, golds and reds and stuff, so I can't really complain. There's the bottom of his feet. They look very sturdy, very stable. He does stand pretty well. You just got to get the foot down on the ground, and we'll go ahead and zoom out so I can show that. You just basically just have to put his foot flat and make sure everything is touching the ground. You've got 3 sections you want touching: heel, toe, and then the actual foot itself. So you make sure those are touching after you get the legs how you want, and he'll stand for you. And then you've got these little sections here that I don't care for them. because of the way they are. Excuse me for a second. Sorry about that. My throat had a tickle and I really didn't feel like, killing your ears trying to get rid of it. But yeah, that's his details. We'll go over some articulation. The head can go down into the chest due to transformation, so do with that what you want. It's just kind of a sliding thing, but you've got a hinge for downward and upward movement, lots of upward and downward movement. Ball joint at the head allows him to do some tilting and a 360 swivel. So you've got the ball joint plus a couple of hinges in there, which is why you get such a good range of motion on the upwards and downwards movement there. For the shoulders, you can move them on the thuping hinge if you wanted to get a kind of reverse butterfly, but I'm not going to do that because it'll pull the chest apart a little bit. You've got a swivel at the shoulder for 360. They do move up, and as you saw, this piece just kind of oriented itself the way you want it to, and then coming back down, you'll have to push it back into place. But yeah, it moved itself out of the way. He's got 90 degrees there. You do have a bicep swivel. It is unhindered 360 degrees if this armor piece is not up inside of it. So you can move it around, and then, like I said, just kind of position the armor piece how you want. But generally, I'm not having him doing anything too dynamic, so I like to tuck that in there. That's just my personal preference. You do not have to do that. So there. At the elbow, he's got about 90 degrees, a little over maybe. Wrists are on a ball joint, so they swivel all the way around. As you can see, this one's a little loose. It's kind of oriented to the bottom half of his hand, so it can look weird if you have it all the way around, but your wrists really shouldn't be doing that. So your normal wrist poses, it'll look fine. His thumb and 3 fingers are individually posable. They're a base pin with 1 knuckle for the fingers, and then the thumb's just on the base pin and this secondary hinge as well. So you each finger's got a base pin and an additional hinge, and then the thumb is also on this bar for transformation, which allows it to swivel using that ball joint. So you can orient the thumb how you want. You can give him a look like this, so you could have him, with his claws out, and he could be looking up and roaring at you or something. So there's his hands. I'll give him his fist back, so that way that's out of the way, and rotate his arms up, and try not to unplug the chest. The waist is on a swivel, and you start hitting the doors with thigh panels, but if you can maneuver everything around everything, it does go all the way around. And then, like I said, there's some ball joints on this I really need to tighten up. And they were not this loose out of the box, by the way. It's just, I've had this figure for a while, and you transform something enough times, and the ball joints can get loose. So 360 at the waist. There's no ab articulation at all, considering the accordion act that went to getting his chest together. I don't really see how they could have added it. He has a full 360 thigh swivel. It's part of the transformation, so you just gotta keep in mind to get the armor out of the way. So if I actually pulled this down, we'll give his leg a rotation out to the side all the way. We'll fix this leg armor. You can go forward pretty much all the way. You got to rotate the leg to get it around the stomach, but at least it doesn't have to angle out to do it. And then you can go back all the way, more than all the way. He could almost kick himself in the back of the head if this stuff wasn't here. So good hip articulation, good thigh articulation. The knees bend more than 90 degrees at the single knee joint. So there's his knee. And then the knee pad just stays forward. So it looks pretty cohesive all the way around, even when it's bent. And then the ankle, if you consider this the foot, the ankle is off to the side of it, which is a little odd. But you can tilt in, you can tilt out, you can tilt his foot up, and then just rotate that to match it. And you can tilt it down. So it pretty much does everything you want except it'll turn side to side, but won't do a full bleh, bleh, my tongue stops working. It won't do an actual 360 swivel, but you do get side to side, up and down, and tilting. So it pretty much does everything a foot needs to do, which is cool. Like I said, his feet'll stay planted. You just got to get his legs how you want them, then get his feet flat, and then just kind of pose his arms around it, and there he is. That's his articulation for you. If you want to, you could count the toes as being articulated, because when they transform, they pull forward and angle out. If that makes you feel special, the knee armor will move up and down for transformation. So if you had his knee bent and you wanted the spike jutting out so he could stab someone with his knee, you could do that if you want to. It's totally up to you what you want to do with him. And then, of course, these rotate for transformation if you want to count that as articulation. And then these will fold open for transformation. So, you know, just little bits and pieces you could say are articulation if you want to get creative. But there he is with all his articulation covered. We'll go ahead and give him his gun real quick. In either hand, you open up all the fingers. And beside the bar, you've got 2 slots. In the palm, you know what, we'll put it in his left hand, because this wrist is just super loose. So we'll go ahead and put that wrist down, and Soundwave will be left-handed today, which I'm okay with. That makes him like me. Go ahead and get his gun here. And so there's tabs on either side of the handle, so you can hold it in either hand, and we'll just plug it in and get his fingers wrapped around it. Get his thumb over his fingers. And there he's holding his gun. And it looks pretty good. His doors keep falling down. Yeah, so just get something to tighten up ball joints in the long run if you get this guy. But there he is with his gun. We'll go ahead and bring his buddies in. So there you've got him with his Ravage. Unfortunately, he doesn't actually plug in. There's slots in the bottom of the feet, but they're because the ball joints are in there, as you've probably seen on many a figure before. So they don't actually plug onto anything on his arm, which I feel like they could have had a tab there for it. So if you want to take him and pose him with laser beak, you can lift his arm up and rotate it around for sure, but you're going to have to actually manually balance him on his arm. One thing that I've done is taken his feet and just kind of wedged his toes up underneath this speaker section, and that gets the job done pretty well. Apologies for the wing just kind of sticking out there because of what I did to it with the screw. That was a surprise to me that was going to happen, but there he is with his minions. And like I said, there's no way to officially plug him in, but if you get his feet under the silver disc and just kind of get his toes under there, it's not a solid connection, but it's more than him just balancing, and then you can have him with his minions. So we'll go ahead and put him off to the side and Ravage off to the side, so that way we can get some size comparisons in. I don't want you right in the way of his face. And now I've got to rebalance his feet. But like I said, it's not that hard. You've just got to actually get it done. So we'll go ahead and get him posed and get into some size comparisons in robot mode. Alrighty, so there you've got him with the Rubik's Cube, Gormagala, Bumblebee, Peru Kill, and there he is with his good buddy Barricade. And as you can see, there's just panels, car panels with the face. But so he fits right in with that. They actually look pretty good together. They're basically the same height. They both got kind of gangly arms. Barricade more so than Soundwave. But yeah, there you have those guys together. And last but not least, as always, there he is with the KO MP44 mold. so you can get a sense of that. Yeah, there you have Newage Mista. Again, the laser beak thing is not a solid connection. He fell when I was moving him around for the comparisons, and then he fell again when I was moving him into this central shot. So that kind of is a bummer, but he'll sit there pretty nicely if you don't touch it. But there he is. He looks really good. The paint's really good. Got a couple of loose ball joints, but I can fix that. Transformation is, you know what? I was doing it on camera this time, and it kind of made more sense than it has previously, because I've just kind of been jumbling stuff around, trying to remember how things go, and I don't know if transforming it for the Peru Kill review so recently helped with that. But either way, there he is in his robot mode, looking really great. So we got there in the end. It's not a nightmare transformation by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a lot of panels with, you know, because of your Bayverse aesthetic, a lot of panels to move around, and it's not completely clear where they all should move and when. And some of them, like the whole feet thing, not really plugging in, it can be a little daunting. His chest doesn't actually plug in, so it kind of just moves around. But I mean, it makes it kind of organic a little bit, where the things are kind of moving with the body parts, like when you move the shoulder and all that stuff just kind of moves on its own. But really good figure. Definitely a recommend for me if you're a fan of the design from Dark of the Moon, like I am. If you're a fan of the, you know, the movies in general, this is definitely something you should pick up. I got mine, I want to say, on Showz's store, and the last I checked, it was on sale. But I don't know if they even have anymore. So go check it out if you want them. Definitely a good pickup for me. I'm happy with them, and I just want to point this out, that look how small his box is. He comes packaged in vehicle mode, and the gun and I think Laser Beak are just kind of in there, and then Ravage was in his own box. So like, I think I stuffed them all in there once before by taking Ravage's gun off, but it wasn't elegant. But yeah, he's bigger than his box basically. And there you have them. So go ahead and give the video a like if you liked it. Go ahead and subscribe so you can see more of my content. Ring the notification bell so you'll be notified when I post new things. Twitter and Instagram links in the description below, so that way you guys can see a day before I post or so. I'll throw something up on my social media so you get a little bit of a forewarning. Go ahead and comment what you think of the figure, what you think of the video. I like constructive I like it when my mouth works. I like constructive criticism. I want to say constriticism. I want to combine these words, just like plague. Plague is my thing now. But constructive criticism is appreciated. I want to try and improve the channel in a way that you know, people want to see it improved. So leave those, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.